In this screen capture video, I'm going to show you how to create a crosstab, which is short for crosstabulation. Crosstabulation is simply a table that shows the distribution of one variable by another. In this case, you're going to look at the crosstabulation between one of your key opinion variables and gender. This is the first crosstab you're going to do. Second one will be that same key opinion variable by another demographic variable of your choosing. In order to create the crosstab, we can use the table that we already have. This is a frequency table. I'm just going to take out the percentages column. I can do that by going over here on the values box and grabbing one of these two. There's count of, you can't see all of it, but count of minor crimes and count of minor crimes 2. Take out count of minor crimes 2. You're left with just the counts. Now what I can do is I'm going to grab gender and put it in the columns. Now we have essentially what is a crosstab, but we want column percentages because you can't compare men and women on this variable because there's more men than women. In your survey it might be more women than men or whatever, but regardless, you can't make a comparison without looking at percentages. But I want to know the absolute sample size for each gender, total sample size rather. I'm going to write that down here. There are 12 women, 15 men, and 27 overall. Then I can change this into column percentages by clicking anywhere, right click, show values as percent of column total. It changes it into percentages of column total. So if I just undo that for a second, what it's doing is it's just taking 8 divided by 12, which is the column total, multiplying by 100. Same thing here. To take 7 divided by 15 and multiply by 100 to get the percentage of men who agree. I don't want the extra decimal places, numbers beyond the decimal, so I go to the home menu and if I highlight this whole table, I can format it as with a percent, or else I can decrease the decimal over here. And once you have something like this, then you should go back to the Microsoft Word document where you're saving your other frequency tables. It might look something like this, but you should have a table 2 here as well. And this is going to be table 3, the crosstab. I can go over here, highlight this whole thing, Control C to copy, Control V paste, whole thing copied over. Now I need to clean it up. I'm going to take out all of these extra rows, highlight them, select and delete entire row. Delete this minor crimes 2. It's not so grand, so we can take the grand out. And then at the bottom should be the sample sizes. We'll put 12, 15, and 27. And then I can delete these bottom 2 cells. Now I'm almost finished, but I want to format the table a little bit. A good way to format a table in Microsoft Word is if you highlight the whole thing, right click, press auto fit and auto fit to contents. It condenses the table, makes it easier to see. I can highlight the whole thing and right justify it like that. And then I can also, in table tools, go to the design, and I'm going to click this design, light shading. I want the header row to be highlighted with lines underneath, but not the first column. I don't want banded rows, but I do want a total row. So again, with that, under the table tools, I chose the header row and the total row, so they would be highlighted, and there would be lines above and below them. I clicked on that formatting to make it a little bit easier to read, and then I want to give it a title, and I can call this the crosstabulation, or crosstab for short, of agreement with, and then you can fill in your question. You can see the example that I provided for the full title, what the full title should look like. All the tables should have descriptive titles. The idea with the title, the table in general, is that it should be relatively self-explanatory even if somebody didn't actually look at the text. Now, the next crosstab you're going to do, this is the final table, which is table 4, will be with another demographic variable of your choice. Now, I can come back here, and I'm going to now reverse this. I can actually just keep pressing the undo button until I'm left with that initial early frequency. And in this case, I want to look at how this variable varies by education. So I'm going to grab education and put it in the columns. Now, this is a pretty unwieldy table. It's just way too big. I can make it smaller, you see, like that, by if I highlight all of it and I just adjust one row, and then they all come in. If you highlight all columns by clicking on the top of them, the letter, and then adjusting just one of them, it will change all of them at once. Note there's some extra stuff in here, the blank of people who didn't answer the college question, so I'm going to go in here and get rid of them. It stubbornly returns it to its original size. I can readjust that. This is way too many categories here. You want to have just, I would say, only 2 categories for each of your variables, because we have very small sample size, so it's not reliable with so many categories. So the way to do that is I want to collapse. This is a variable with, looks like, 5 categories. I want to collapse it into 2 categories that are logical and make sense. First, I need to put these things in order. Less than high school comes first, so I can click on that, right click, and move it to the beginning. So less than high school comes first. The next one perhaps would be, well, I can say bachelor's degree. It looks like the highest here, so I can actually right click that and move that to the end. And high school degree comes before associates, so I'm going to move that to the left, and it switches places with associates. And now the ordering here is ambiguous, but what you have to decide to do is to collapse the categories in a way that is both logical and also keeps a lot of, or as much variation as you can. So if you have very few people in your sample with a college degree, then you'd want to collapse college degree with something lower than that to make it a big enough category. What I'm deciding to do here is I'm going to collapse everyone with no college and then everyone with any sort of college degree. So to do that, I highlight these 2. These are the 2 below college. Right click and group. And now I'm going to relabel this no college. And then the other categories, associates and some and bachelor's degree, I'm going to right click and group all of these, and this will be called some college, or you could even call it at least some college. So now we have the 2 categories, but we're still have this unwieldy table with all of these categories and small numbers of people in a lot of the cells. So you'll notice that when I created this new 2-category education variable, it created it. It's called education 2. I can grab education, the original variable, and just drop it out. And so what we're left with is a table that looks like this. It's a lot simpler to see and understand, and where there's at least 5 people in each cell. I would try to make sure that there's at least 5 people in each cell if you can. Otherwise, you might want to try collapsing your categories another way to make that happen, because if there's fewer than that, it's not as reliable. So then once we have this crosstab, we do the same thing we did before. I'm going to write down the sample sizes for no college, at least some, and the grand total. I'm going to then click anywhere here in the table, right click, and change this to column total, percentage of column total. I'll reformat these to get rid of the percentages. And now it would be time to copy and paste this into Microsoft Word and clean up the rows and columns. And save it, and then finally title it, and then you're done.